The next guy has made it to the majors, and unfortunately, I think that's to his detriment. I'm talking about Gavin Cecchini, who is the younger brother of Garen Cecchini. He's a shortstop in the Met system. And I'm just not sure where this guy gets a shot as an everyday player. And that's why I say it's kind of to his detriment that he's reached the majors already. Another reason why you dream big on prospects, but you don't sell your house for them. Even if they progress through the system and make it to the bigs, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are going to force their way into a regular role. Now, he's up against Asdrubal Cabrera, who I think is underrated. He's got Jose Reyes there, who could still be a threat. He's got, David Wright's back to contend with if it remains healthy. That's less at bats in the lineup. He's got Wilmer Flores, who's become Mr. Utility, super utility at that. Plus Ahmed Rosario, who was already being touted as the future of the organization. So I'm just curious, where does a glorified utility player have value in fantasy leagues? The other caveat is that, to the downside again to all this is that by being promoted, he's actually lost value in dynasty leagues. Because, when he's 19 playing at Double-A, there's reason to believe still, and maybe, you can snag someone in a trade. But now that he's cracked the MLB threshold, you get a better sense of what he's going to be at this level, and just people aren't buying. Nobody's going to trade you something for what amounts to be a waiver wire player. I'm just curious, am I selling this guy too short? Because he's basically turned himself into a 300 hitter over the past few seasons. He doesn't strike out. He draws walks. I mean, he's a contact guy. He can actually push his way into a regular and relevant role. Do you see that happening? Is that possible?
What?
Can he actually do that?
Sorry. I fell asleep because I thought you were talking about Gavin Cecchini. I have no idea where this guy plays, number one. Number two, and I think if you look at my rankings, this is pretty obvious. I want a sexy tool. I want somebody that has big power or speed, or at least a balance of the two. He doesn't really run that much. He doesn't have almost any power. I mean, I wouldn't say that he's like Juan Pierre, but he's maybe a 10-homer guy. The batting average and the hit tool are absolutely what's going to carry him. He knows how to take a walk. He does not strike out much. He's got an excellent contact hitter, bat to ball guy. I think on a lesser market, a lesser team, a team that has less options in the middle infield, he's certainly somebody that could be a solid two-hitter, in the National League, team that plays the hit and run and that sort of thing, because he does make such good contact. Do I think he's a second coming of Daniel Murphy? I don't, though he is a singles hitter. I don't know where this guy fits in, and I had taken a chance on him in some of my deeper, like 18 to 30 team leagues. And I sort of sold him off as a secondary piece, hoping that people look at the batting average and were like, oh, yeah, I'll take a gamble on this guy. And it's typically what I ended up doing. So I'm just not that excited about Cecchini. His brother was a bigger prospect at one point. He flamed out. I know he was in the Brewers organization last time I checked, but I sort of lost track of him with a lot of players I'd rather pay attention to. So I don't know what happens with Cecchini. I think he's somebody that the Mets should probably look to package to add another reliever. Or a piece, platoon bat, just something here or there, because they have a lot of redundancy at that position.
Yeah, to me, there are a lot of other prospects that are probably available on your waiver wire that I'd rather have on my team than him as a placeholder right now. There's so much that has to happen for him to realize a major league role. I think he's a major league player. I think he has a role on the right team. He could be like a Joe Panic kind of guy that if given the right opportunity in the right situation at the right time, he could emerge as an everyday guy. But there's so much that has to happen between now and then that it's just you're holding your breath for something that may never materialize. Yeah. And, you're not really going to get anything for it. I wouldn't trade anything for him in a dynasty league. So I doubt you're going to get anything for him, which means your only option is to cut bait. So if you're watching this show, because this is probably the most anybody's talked about Gavin Cecchini in the last 2 or 3 years, and you have him on your roster and you're wondering, should I cut him? Well, this is the episode for you, because we're here to tell you, yes, you should cut him. Not any slight to him as a person or as a player, just in the fantasy aspect, it's doing you nothing. It's an albatross on your roster. It's an anchor, not in a good way. Part ways, If he resurfaces down the road, if he gets traded, as Ralph mentioned, hey, there you go, pick him up. He'll be there. He'll be on the waiver wire. Be the first to grab him. But for now, no, there's no reason to.